our elder brother, Colonel Bohipak. It's a tough fight. It's a tough fight. And with that, I would like to greet you all. Ah, good afternoon, comrades. I'm very, very, very happy to see you again. And I do see some new faces here, especially from our brothers and sisters from NLTP. I do see some brothers from all over the place, from Mindanao, from Visayas, and Luzon. So I would like to thank you guys for coming to the second day of our online CAUSA event. Yan, online CAUSA event, where we really talk about what is CAUSA, what is Godism, what is the headwing thought nga ba. Ngayon, just a little bit of a reminder, we do have some house rules. So when our speaker is presenting their PowerPoint or their presentation, we would have to mute the participants so the speaker could continue with their presentation. Pero don't worry, we do have some Q&A session where you can ask questions, you could give out some opinion or some comments or some addition to what the lecture states. Ngayon, I would like to greet again from people, my brothers and sisters from Mindanao, Luzon, Visayas, and people from Bulacan. And I do see some young people who are really, really willing and are really determined to take ownership for the future from YLT and NLTP. And even our event is actually a national event. We do have some guests from Japan. So from Philippines, we would like to say arigato gozaimasu. Also our brothers from Bicol, our ever supporting brothers and sisters. And of course, to our very, very hardworking leaders, Sir Edgar, and our elders here. We would like to say thank you so much for coming to the second day of our CAUSA event. Now, although we have watched Dr. Bohipak's testimony, we will watch another short video, or we will do a short video presentation about the international effect, or what are the effects of communism. Now, if we could just look at the video, if I may call our technical staff, please let's move on to our video presentation. Yes.
Ba't bisa?
So
Dili mo
we
sulod.
so we have seen the effects of applied communism in that video. That was in USSR, which poverty has become quite so harsh that cannibalism, people eating other people, has become the new normal. So communism promises us a utopia, a better future, but the effects are quite the opposite. My good. So we, as the members of the Unification Church in Philippines, in Japan, or even in Africa, we are the people who should, you know, the key. We are the key to really fix what communism has done, or really defeat what communism is saying. Now, I am reminded of a question yesterday by one of our participants na sinabi, um, I thought communism teaches all men should be equal,
Micros,
equal
micros.
riches, equal everything. Why is the leader of North Korea and even Joma Season are being rich? They have many, many things. Bakit daw yung country nila is naghihirap tapos sila nagpapakasarap? And the answer, our speaker actually answered, ako nga rin, question ko yun eh. So, in order for us to defeat the enemy, in order for us to really defeat an ideology, we have learned yesterday that we have to have a higher, more richer, or a superior ideology, which is Godism, which we are going to learn during these 3 days. And the person, actually, we are very, very, very lucky because the person who will present or teach us or lecture to us this ideology, this superior ideology, the sword to communism, is a very, very well established lecturer. Now, we ha- we have told you yesterday his credentials. Hindi kami nagkulang. But because of we have some new faces in here, especially from NLTP and YLT, I would like to introduce our speaker. Bigatin yung speaker natin. I always emphasize this. He is an international lecturer. He is an educator, physicist, military officer, martial artist, and a religious leader. He has a degree of Bachelor in Science in Physics for teachers, and he graduated cum laude at the Philippine Normal University. He studied MST Physics in De La Salle University and MBA Regis with specialization in leadership in Ateneo Professional Schools. Commissioned as a second lieutenant in the Philippine Army in 1988, he served as a tactical officer and assistant commander in several ROTC units in Manila and Iloilo City. He was conferred an honorary degree of Doctor of Divinity by the Open Seminary of the Whole Wide World for Jesus Ministries in California, USA. As a government scholar of the Department of Science and Technology, he received an award as one of the best DOST scholars graduate and later served as physics, mathematics, management, world religions, and military science teacher at the Philippine Science High School, Philippine Women's University, Mapua Institute of Technology, International Peace Leadership College, and Sonhua International Academy, where he became its third president. As national president of Tongil Mudo Federation in the Philippines, he initiated and instituted Tongil Mudo as a subject and club in IPLC and was conferred fifth degree black belt. As a peace educator, he is a peace education advocate and lecturer in the Philippines, Thailand, Cambodia, Nepal, Singapore, Malaysia, Japan, Korea, Russia, Mongolia, Indonesia, Australia, New Zealand, and Sri Lanka. He has conducted training program for youth leaders in Asia Pacific involving 40 nations. And as a family man, he is happily married to Hisayo Tabata from Osaka, Japan. And he has one son, a very, very bubbly boy. I've met him myself, named Preston Kyle Tanate. And he is our lecturer for this afternoon. So, without further ado, let's give a warm applause to our presenter, our lecturer this afternoon, Reverend Dr. Edgar Tanate. Let's give a...
Afternoon, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Okay, you can hear me. Great. So today I will share the third lecture, and let me check this out again. Lecture number. Okay, that's it. I hope you can see all of you. So this topic now I'd like to share is entitled, of course, it is Introduction to Godism, and then we have to always give honor and glory and gratitude to our beloved Father Moon and Mother Moon, our true parents, who gave us this beautiful and wonderful ideology of Godism to guide our lives. At this point, I will be presenting lecture 3, entitled Marxist Economic Theories. So I guess the time now is, 2:23. So let's go ahead with this, my dear brothers and sisters. So let's discuss about Marxist economic theories, labor theory of value, and the theory of surplus value. So in the thesis made by Karl Marx, entitled Das Kapital, he actually laid down his economic theories. So let me share with you first the labor theory of value according to Marx. So, according to Marx's life and writings in 1848, is there saying like, how does it happen? We ask now that man alienates his labor, a question regarding the relationship between alienated labor and the process of the development of humankind. So, in here, the communist theory of alienation is being explained, and that is, man actually came from the ape. So from ape, it takes some kind of a process before man can become man. So a process is involved in order that ape can become man. In order for ape to survive, he's doing some kind of labor, try to gather some fruits, food, going up the trees, transferring from one tree to another, and then, of course, getting some fruits and something to eat. So he's doing some kind of labor, this ape. In order, as he tries to do this thing, in order to survive, he used some kind of tools, and also they have some kind of language, and they have some kind of, how do you say, practice some kind of, like the strategies, how to really get this food so that they can survive. On the process of doing this, the ape developed some kind of ability, and this ability to really survive in a certain environment is being, how do you say, developed in the cells of this ape. It is integrated there, this information, and then when this ape had the next generation like that, so it becomes better than him. So through the labor, this ape actually is evolving step by step, slowly, to eventually become man. So what Marx is saying here is that man develops through labor. As an ape developed to become man through labor, man is also developing through labor. So labor is very, very important for communists. Because of labor, man became man. So the capitalists steal the fruits of labor of the laborers and therefore develop themselves at the expense of the laborer. So they're saying that the capitalists are stealing the labor, the essence of labor from the laborers. And uh, since it is labor that makes man develop or makes man into a better person, something like that, then once this labor is taken out or is being stolen by the capitalist from the laborers, so it is the capitalist that grows at the expense of the laborers. So in the Communist Manifesto, Marx said here, the communists openly declare that their ends can be attained only by the forcible overthrow of all existing social conditions. Because of this exploitation being done by the capitalists by stealing the labor of the laborers, and therefore only the capitalists are developing and growing, this can be stopped, this can be prevented if the laborers will, how do you say, promote uh, revolution. No? So just try to look at this situation in capitalism, how it works. So before a product can be made, there is the worker and the capitalist, isn't it? The worker contributes his labor and the capitalist contributes his capital. And then the product is made. The product is produced. So then you can see that once this product is sold, so the money goes back to the worker in the form of wage and goes back to the capitalist in the form of profit. But as you can see, it is the capitalist that gets the lion's share of the profit. So the bigger portion of the profit goes to the capitalist, but only very minimal goes to the laborer. So communism is saying that this is definitely unfair. So the profit, instead of going to the laborer, it goes to the capitalist. Therefore, the laborer is being exploited and the capitalist is driven to exploit. Now the question here is that, will the capitalist share fairly the profit from the laborer? The answer is no, right? They will not share fairly this profit. They will always get a bigger amount of the profit. And then the laborer will only get very minimal. So how do we prevent this from happening? What should we do so that this will not happen? We have to promote an advanced revolution. So that is how they justify revolution. So let's go now to the labor theory of value. For example, there is a certain commodity, and this commodity is produced for exchange rather than consumption. They want to sell it, not necessarily to consume it. So once this commodity is there and is in the market, in order to first produce this some kind of commodity, there needs useful labor in order to produce it. And then the consumer try to check, is it useful for me? So it has some kind of a use value. But another one we call the abstract labor is eventually going towards this commodity as exchange value. It can be exchanged for a certain price. So Karl Marx disregard this useful labor, and he said that it does not embody a social relation, while he focused more on the abstract labor, and it is with the exchange value of this abstract labor that determines the price. So let me give you an example, as he put emphasis on the hours of labor of the laborer. For example, this pen, it will take 1 hour labor time to produce this pen, while this glass takes 2 hours of labor time. Therefore, by a simple math, you can see that 2 pens equals 1 glass. According to Marx, the value or price of commodity is determined in the production process, not in the market. So once they produce some kind of how do you say, product, then they try to check how much they need, how much they spend. And then based on the cost of this product, the production in the production process, then they try to put an additional amount to it, and then that should be the price in the market. So meaning the price is determined, before that product is brought to the market. That is according to Marx. So for example, the watch, it will take like 5 hours labor time for the watch to make. And the gravel is also 5 hours labor time. So it's like the same number of hours for the watch and for the gravel. So it's very, how do you say, it's very obvious that, of course, the watch is more valuable than the gravel, isn't it? But so Marx has a problem with this one. So how did he solve this problem? He determined that in order to, the labor needed to make the watch requires complex skilled labor, while gravel is only simple unskilled labor. So for a complex skilled labor, 1 useful hour equals 10 abstract hours. Therefore, 5 hours of labor in making a watch can be equivalent to 50 abstract labor hours, while in making this gravel, using only simple unskilled labor, 1 useful hour is equals to 1 abstract hour. So to make gravel only requires 5 abstract labor hours. So now the price, you can see the difference already. That is $50 for the watch and $5 for the gravel. So it seems that he was able to solve this this situation and this problem. However, what we're saying here is that abstract labor hours cannot be determined prior to exchange. In the Soviet Union, they have a big problem about this. So in the Soviet Union, the labor hours are calculated from prices in capitalist nations. For example, you have a certain product. They know already how many hours they spend in order to make that kind of product. They can actually put a price to it. But they found out that they have a problem in the market if they do like that. So what they're doing to determine the price of a product they make in Soviet Union, they try to check the market in the capitalist nations, how much this kind of product cost in America. And then based on that price, they try to calculate the price of that the same product they make in Russia. So they have this kind of situation in Russia when they try to implement this kind of policy, because the how do you say, the reality is that prices are determined in the market. It's not determined before you bring it to the market. That's let me give you an example for this. If there's a certain commodity, and then there is this producer and the consumer, right? For the producer only wants profit. That's why he's producing something. But the consumer will try to look at that item in the market, and then will determine, oh, is this commodity useful for me? Do I need this one? No, even though it looks expensive, but if I don't need this, why will I buy it? Isn't it? So the consumer will look at the usefulness of that product in the market. He will not just buy it because somebody make it and how did I spend like hours making it, so no, I should buy it. No, the consumer will not buy it if he does not need it, if it is not useful to him. So, and then the price will be determined based on that. So for example, you have a t-shirt, right? T-shirt, and then you say, oh, okay, I'm selling this for $10. And then the consumer thought, oh, this kind of dress, this kind of shirt is not really useful for me because I have many shirts already. So I cannot buy this for $10. That's okay. But I think for $5 I can buy this one. And then the producer says, no, cannot be. because my capital for this like this and like that, it should be $10 because I spend a certain number of labor hours, cannot reduce the price. And then that person will not buy. Or in fact, nobody will buy. If nobody will buy your product, it will be a big problem. So for consumer, use value is the essence of commodity value or the price. Is it useful to me for me, even though it's very expensive? No, if I really need it, no, me as a consumer will buy it because I really need it. So actually, in the market, what is very, very important is the useful labor or the use value. It is the one that embodies a social relation, while the abstract labor, no, is really not practical, no, not applicable in the market. You cannot dictate the price. If you dictate the price as the producer and nobody really needs it, nobody will buy it, you will have a big problem. You cannot sell your commodity at all, even though you spend many hours making that commodity. So what is the purpose of Marx economic theories? Why he put emphasis on this one in the abstract labor? Why? Why he is putting emphasis on the hours of labor? Because he wants to win the workers to communism. He wants to show that all value comes from labor. Therefore, the workers should be prioritized, should be given attention to. And through this, communism can easily win the hearts of the workers. So let's go now to the theory of surplus value, which is directly connected with this topic. In the manufacturing process, we have raw materials, machinery, labor power, and then you have the product. For example, your raw material is the cloth. Machinery is the sewing machine. Labor power is the sewing, no, the person who's doing the sewing. The product is a shirt. So let's try to add the values here. In order to getting the price or the capital for the cloth, for example, you buy a cloth, and then if you make 1,000 t-shirts, and then that cloth is $1,000. So meaning $1 for one t-shirt. And then the sewing machine, it will take you certain time of using it before it will be destroyed, and its price is like this. So they can determine it's for $1 also per shirt produced. And the labor power, $2, like that. But when you bring the product to the market, originally it should be priced at what? $4. But it was sold for $7 in the market. So what happened? Where does extra $3 come from? This is what Marx is like arguing and teaching. He's saying that it cannot come from raw materials. No, that is constant. Raw materials price is constant. It cannot be, it's not variable. Machinery, also same. No? It's not variable. So that the extra $3 cannot come from the machinery. And so the only part now where this extra $3 come from, it's possible, it can only come from the labor power. So that means that instead of receiving $2 for labor power, Marx is saying that you should add $3, right? It should become $5 so that the price is $7 US. So $5 is the value of labor transferred to the commodities. But the laborer only receives what? $2, which is the value of labor power given to laborers. So who takes the remaining $3? Oh my goodness. It's very clear, right? Who takes this extra $3? So necessary labor hours, $2 necessary wage. These $2 as given to the laborers is only enough for the laborer to survive. No? He cannot live a decent life. No extra money for something, only hand to mouth, just to survive. These $2 actually. The surplus labor hours is supposedly, this surplus value of $3 should actually go to the laborer so that he can live a decent life. But the capitalist, no, this, how do you say, this owner of businesses, the investors, they get these $3 from the laborers. So the total value of labor should have been $5, but the laborer only receives $2. What do you call things like this? They call this exploitation. So profit actually should go to the laborer, but it is the capitalist, it is the investors who get this profit, much of the profit. So the laborers are exploited and the capitalists are driven to exploit. So what is the solution? What is the solution? Will the capitalist, no, give the extra $3 to the laborer voluntarily? No, they don't believe that. So what is the solution? Violent revolution. It's only through revolution that this can be resolved. So this kind of teaching by the communists is very successful as a propaganda, but it is a total failure as an economic system. So, and also, when we try to check it, Marx, in explaining this theory of surplus value, he is like oversimplified. He's mentioning that in the manufacturing process, there's only the machinery, the labor, raw materials. But do you think that's the only thing that contributes to the manufacturing process? Machinery, labor, raw materials? No. There is the management. Huh? It has to be organized well, managed well, or else the system cannot work well and it will become more costly. The inventors, the investors, the engineers, the research, you know, the designers. When you make a shirt and your design is not very good, when you make a shirt and it's not very useful to the consumer, will your shirt, can it be bought in the market? Will the people buy it? No. But if you have very good designer, you have good research, and then you are able to really make such a beautiful shirt, it can easily be bought even for a higher price. So again, what we're saying here is that Marx is oversimplified. The reality when you make this t-shirt in a manufacturing process involves many other factors. You know? So, and then what will happen once the product is there? This product will go to the market. And then, according to communism, price is prefixed by labor hours, meaning profit is automatic. Before you bring the product to the market, you already determine the price. You already determine the profit. So what they're saying is that profit is automatic. Is it true that you have commodity, profit is automatic in the market? No, cannot be automatic. If that is true, all the businessmen would have, nobody would have lost money in business, right? So if profit is automatic, but it is not so. Let's check what is the behavior in the market. Price is determined in the market and nothing is automatic. Let's check. In the manufacturing process, when you sell a certain product, it follows the law of supply and demand. What is that? If there is oversupply, low prices. If there is scarcity of supplies, then its price will be high. I'll give you an example. One time in my province, we have this tomato. Tomato, the supply of tomato is very low. But many people wants to buy tomato. What happened? Oh my goodness, the tomatoes price became very, very high. It's like, for example, its price become like $10 per kilo. Example, $10 per kilo. So the farmers were so excited that many of them planted tomatoes. And then finally during harvest time, oh my goodness, so many tomatoes. So many people are very happy they bought tomatoes at a certain price, $10. But people already thought, oh, I already had enough tomatoes. So nobody buy tomatoes already. And then some people, some, how do you say, producers, they still have many tomatoes. But nobody buy already. So some of them compromised. They lowered the price, no? So when they lowered the price, they were able to sell their tomatoes. But others, no, it should be $10. This is the price is determined before the market already. The price is already like this, cannot be lower down like that. So nobody bought their tomatoes. You know what happened? Eventually, no choice because nobody bought their tomatoes. They just throw away the tomatoes in the market and then they sell the container of the tomato. Oh my goodness. You cannot, no, you cannot dictate the price in the market. You will lose more money if you do that. Also, the price of the commodity also depends on the quality. If you have poor quality, even though you spend 5 labor hours to make that product and it cannot be sold, its price cannot be equal to the amount of hours you spend in making the product. It cannot be sold. Its price equals zero. No? So you can see that in the market, the price can be determined in the market. According to Marx also, it is the labor power which is the only source of profit. But is that really the case? Again, what is the purpose of Marx economic theories? That is to win the workers to communism. He wants to show that all value comes from labor. But how about machinery? Can the machinery also can produce profit? The machine making the product, can it also produce profit? What is a machine, by the way? So the machine, if you use the machine, you can make the production even faster, isn't it? Why? Because the machine actually simplifies the creative power of the human beings. So machine definitely can do labor on behalf of the person, isn't it? So machine should also generate profit. Not only human beings doing profit, no, is the source of profit, but also the machine itself that he bought. So Marx is also unrealistic. Capitalism, socialism, communism, no? Even this development, we can say that development requires capital. If you want something to develop, it needs investment or it needs capital or capitalization. Look at this manufacturing process again. We have the management, the capital, and the labor, and then the product. The product goes to the market, but it's not, the profit is not automatic. You can either have profit or you can lose. And profit is not bad. No, profit is a reward. It is a reward. So this profit should be fairly shared, no, to the capitalist, the management, and the labor, isn't it? So, but if you believe in this kind of situation, you should also believe in the opposite situation where it's possible that you lose money, no, in the market. You cannot sell that product because something else dissimilar to your product sells a lower price or better quality than your product. Then you have loss. You should also be responsible to have a fair share in the loss, isn't it? If the company lose money, the laborers complain. Oh no, only the capitalist, only the owner should shoulder the loss. Right? They don't like to share the loss of this product. Well, if there's profit, the capitalists also want the big share of the profit, and they don't want to give more to the laborer. Oh, your salary is only like this, so no need. No, only like this is okay. It's already fair. So the manager is selfish, and so profit is not shared fairly. And then the laborer also selfish. They don't want to share if there is losses. So that's why this is kind of what setup does not work. It becomes a problem. So Marx is also incomplete. Look, the free market system offers great opportunities, but the system has been abused because of what? Selfishness. The problem is the individual's priority of values. The problem is actually selfishness. What is selfishness? You cannot see the bigger picture. As you can see, based on the divine principle, now we call it now Godism here. there is a dual purpose principle. In human beings, we have the invisible mind and the visible body. The mind or the conscience has what we call the desire to seek for truth, beauty, goodness, and love. And the mind always seeks for the whole purpose. And this should be number one, should be the priority. On the other hand, we have the bodily desire, which seeks for individual purpose. That is like survival, to exist, to survive. So its desire is to eat, to sleep, to drink, to have sex. This should be considered number two or secondary, meaning a person has dual purpose, seeking for whole purpose, at the same time, individual purpose. These two should harmonize and balance. But number one should be clear. Number two should be clear. And which one is number one? It should be the whole purpose. Truth, beauty, goodness, and love. And individual purpose is secondary. Once you do this, centered on God, then you become a person who naturally live for the sake of others. Meaning, live for others means you prioritize the whole purpose, and then secondary, in the supportive role, is the individual purpose. Man was created by God this way. However, because of the fall of man, there was a problem. The private and the public was like reversed. Man originally should live for the sake of others, but because of the fall, what happened here is that the individual purpose, survival, eating, sleeping, drinking, to have sex becomes number one, becomes the priority. It's just like equivalent to instinct of animals, the bodily desire. And the mind's desire, the conscience, which is seeking for the whole purpose, living for the sake of others like that, became secondary. So, because living for the sake of myself, living for individual purpose, living for private purpose became number one, man became what? A person who lives for the sake of himself. In short, he becomes what? Selfish. Such a person became selfish. Man became selfish. So what is the consequence of being selfish? In individuals, being selfish, will eventually lead you to commit immorality, drug abuse, smoking, drinking, vices like that, that destroys the individual. Selfishness in families. There is also selfishness in the family level. Husband and wife fight each other, divorce, family breakdown. You should make me happy. You should serve me. And then the other person also says, you should serve me. You should make me happy. Members of the family are selfish. And so finally, the family disintegrates. Divorce and family breakdown will follow. There is selfishness also in nations and people. That's why there is war, conflict, nations against nations, because they want to preserve their national interest, more than the interest of other nations. Problem of starvation and poverty is the natural consequence in a, we call this the socio-economic impact of selfishness. So many people starve to death, experience this poverty because of selfishness. Pollution also becomes a problem in business and in dealing with nature. Man became corrupt in governance. So many political leaders use the money of the nation for their own families. We call this corruption. So the natural consequences of being selfish is that it happens when the private becomes the priority and public becomes secondary. So what again are the consequences of living for the sake of myself? In individuals, it destroys the character. In families, it destroys relationships. In societies, it destroys economies. In nations, it destroys governments. And globally, selfishness destroys civilizations. So, living for myself is the problem, The result of selfishness is that capitalists get more money from the profit and give only very small salary to the workers. This is not because of the system is wrong. This is because of what? Selfishness, isn't it? God's original design for man is to live for the sake of others, but man became selfish. So in the manufacturing process, you can see here, because of selfishness, there is no fair share of profit. Because of selfishness, there is no fair share of the loss. No? So the problem is selfishness. Economic problem, therefore, is because of ethical and moral problems. Not because of the system, not because of democracy, no? Not because of a wrong system, but because of what? Ethical and moral problems, which is selfishness. So, if this economic problem, many people are poor, many people cannot eat like that. If you try to solve this by promoting revolution, just like what communism is advocating, oh, we should have revolution. We have to kill the evil capitalist. No? Well, once they kill the capitalist because they are selfish, who will replace them? They will also be replaced by the same people who are selfish. And then the same problem happen. And then we cannot solve economic problem. Then how do we solve economic problem then? We have to solve the problems of what? Selfishness. Not kill people. Not promote revolution. We have to solve the problems of selfishness. How do we do that? Character education. That's why we need to promote Godism, no? Living for the sake of others. And then, through this, we can change, the system can be managed by good people, by people who sacrifice for others. And then the system will work well. It is the people, not the system, that should change. No? So revolution is not the solution. The solution is what? Character education by promoting Godism. So thank you very much for listening, everyone.
Yes, the solution is character education through Godism. Now let's give another round of applause for our speaker, Reverend Dr. Edgar Tanate, by pushing our clap react. And now, I know all of us have many questions, or anything to add to the lecture. We have learned about Marxist economic theories. We have learned many things actually. Now we move on to our next schedule, which is a short Q&A. This is a question and answer. So you could just raise your hand by using the Zoom app, or if you can chat me privately if you're quite shy, or you can just chat into our Zoom application if you have questions. So does anybody have questions? We are free. We are free na ngayon. Okay, we have one question, actually private. Okay. At the last section of the lecture, it says that living for the sake of others is the key. Doesn't communism also teach the same thing, that nobody should be above anybody else and everybody should be equal? Isn't that living for the sake of others? Ayan po.
Actually, of course, communism does not teach living for the sake of others. I guess it's only our group and some religious groups teaching about living for others. What the communists are saying is that democratic system is not working. It is exploiting. The system of democracy is meant to exploit the laborer, and only the capitalists are developing. Only those who have money are developing. Those who are poor, no, they will remain more poor and poor. So this democratic system should be destroyed, should be changed. That is what you're saying. But the problem is, once this democratic system is destroyed through revolution, what happens is that they become the leaders, right? the leaders of the nation. And then, because they themselves are also selfish, some even does not know that they are selfish, but because they also are selfish, the same cycle happens. Still, the laborer has problems. They cannot really get enough, you know, of what they really need, because these cruel masters who does not believe in God is even more, how do you say, problematic, more cruel, no, than the democratic investors or capitalists. Because at least these democratic capitalists, they believe in God. Some of them believe in God, and they are bound by some kind of democratic laws. But in communist nations, the leaders are the, no, it's a dictatorship. It's the totalitarianism. It's like, no, they control everything. So anyone who goes against them, they can just kill them. So the lives of the laborers under communist countries, no, are even worse than the situation and life of the laborers in democratic countries. They only teach, no, their teaching is very good. We will liberate the laborers. The laborers will become, they will have a better life, like that. And then, but eventually, if you check the communist nations, that is not the situation of laborers, no, in communist nations. You can see that laborers in democratic nations, no, are still better than them. But I tell you, if we can realize, no, Chonilgu, no, if by promoting Godism, our system of governance will be much better than democracy and much better than communism. And we can unite and embrace both democracy and communism, and everybody, by living for the sake of others, can truly be happy. So we are embracing, this ideology can embrace the communist, this ideology can embrace the free world, and all together we survive, all together we are happy and victorious. This is Godism. No? It is total salvation. It promotes a total, how do you say, happiness for all people, regardless of religion, race, nationality, and how do you say, race and religion. So we are, that is the promise of Godism. It embraces everybody. But communism embrace only people who believes in communism and kills those who does not like communism. Democracy, no? And democracy also many problems because of too much freedom. No, there is a drug abuse, there is immorality. They cannot control the divorce, no, and many other same-sex marriage and something like this. All these problems also is very serious in democratic nations. So democratic nations have problems, communist society have problems, but all of these problems can be resolved if everybody will accept the teaching of Godism, focusing on living for the sake of others. Thank you.
Ju, Ju po, sir. Now, we do have another question. This is from John Rodbert Gregorio. In the future, what form of government will Chunelgok adopt? Again, in the future, what form of government Chunelgok will adopt?
Actually, it is not so clear yet, but in Godism, it teaches that the ideal world will look like and will be the same as the function of the human body. Human body. So there is a brain, and then the brain is connected to the organs of the body, and all the cells of the body are like the people. And so the pain in the left hand is the pain of the entire body. So therefore, the brain will make sure that all parts of the body are okay, or else all parts of the body will be in pain, and it is not good. So that means that for me, I think that the governance in the future, when it comes to Chunilgok, will be that of parentship. Parentship. When we say parentship, you know, we respect our parents, we follow our parents voluntarily from the heart, centered on God. But communism is dictatorship. Dictatorship is like, no, it's like no God. So it's called dictatorship, no? Only control everything without God, without love. But parentship, just like how your parents control you by means of love. So you naturally surrender to your mother's love, isn't it? My mother sacrificed for me very much. So if my mother tell me, oh, you do this, you do that, naturally I follow because I love my mother. Something like that. I think the governance of the future uh, will be centered on like a family type governance. It will be like parentship. Hmm? It will be parentship. It's, for me, I think it is like dictatorship, huh? With the heart, centered on God. The parents rule. The love of the parents rule that nation. So it is not democratic. It is not communist. It must be something uh, different, centered on the love of parents. That's so far what I can say as of now.
Yes, dictatorship with a heart. It's like a family, ika nga, family setting. Now we move on to one of our questions. This is from one of our participants.
Safe answer.
Marxism advocates violent overthrow initially to achieve its aims, while it claims to create a utopian society once the overthrow is over. Such a sudden change cannot be sustained without fear mongering and violence. Therefore, can we say that some violent activists we see nowadays has been rooted on the philosophies of Marxism, like Black Lives Matter, LGBTQ, and the likes, as they promotes violent overthrow of the government? Okay.
Yes, no, no, definitely. That is what is really wrong with this ideology, because this kind of ideology will make you kill somebody now without, how do you say, fear, because you don't believe in God, and then you feel that by through conflict there is development. So you kill somebody not for my sake, but for the sake of my country. You kill somebody for the sake of development. You kill somebody, no, for the sake of the future of your children, for the future of your nation. So you can just kill without no restraint. You can even offer your life, no, for communism. This is really a very dangerous kind of belief system or ideology. That's why uh, we have to really teach Godism, because these young communists, once they die and they go to the spiritual world, that's the only time they know that their belief is wrong, because they're already in hell. So that's too late already. So we have to really do our best to embrace the communists and save them. Uh, of course, we need to also protect our life and defend ourselves. But basically, we are the people who will not attack first. We, the communists, no, tends to attack first, because their ideology says that if there is conflict, there is development. So they will really initiate the attack. No? But for us, we don't do that. No? Satan is the one who attacked first, and the God side is the one that is being hit, but survives and then claim the compensation for the damage. So that's it.
Yes, thank you po, sir. So we have actually many questions here, pero okay, this is one of the more technical questions. In the context of our discussion, what are your thoughts po on ensuring universal basic income or UBI, which some experts say is bad for the economy, though some studies also show positive results? Yes, universal basic income.
I, I was not able to hear that well.
Okay.
Can you?
Uh, okay, let me repeat po. In the context of our discussion, what is your thoughts po on ensuring or or ensuring the universal basic income or UBI, which some experts say is bad for the economy, though some studies also show positive results. So what is our stance po kung sakali sa universal basic income?
I'm very sorry about that, but that I'm not familiar with that kind of concept of universal what basic income. Um, I can only answer questions related to the topic that I presented. So I'm sorry, I don't know. I don't have the idea about that kind of system or hello, Jude. I think you are mute. Hello.
Hello?
Ayan.
Yes,
Okay.
problem with our with me. So I think yes, I have to agree with Sir na of course we have discussed economic theories, but we only discussed about Marxist economic theories, while the UBI naman or the universal basic income actually falls under the umbrella of socialism. Although medyo magkapareho sila, but we are only discussing yung economic theories ni Marx dun sa libro niya na Das Kapital. So, so I think maybe next time pag nag-usap tayong socialism. Yes. So another question is, okay, since we have discussed living for the sake of others and Godism, it will be a philosophical question, but is stealing food for the sake of the family, is it living for the sake of others or is it not?
Now, if you live for the sake of your family, your question is it living for the sake of others? You know, please be reminded, everyone, that selfishness has different levels. There is selfishness in the individual level, family level, societal level, national level, world level. Let me explain that. For example, you're a congressman. Then you have some kind of money. Sorry. You have money uh, from the government. We call that pork barrel. You say you have 100 million, no, pesos. And then you love your family. You sacrifice for your family. So you're a good father. Then, because you're a good father, you love your family, you get the 100 million, like 30%, no? Automatic, no? SO, standard operating procedure, huh? SOB, get 30% from every project. And then you get 30%. What is 30% of 100 million? That's like 30 million. So you have 30 million, and then you buy a house for your children, you buy car, because you love your children, you love your family. Yeah? So you sacrifice yourself for the sake of your family. The question is, are you a good father? Something like this. You sacrifice for your family, but what happens here is that you sacrifice a higher purpose for a lower purpose. It became selfishness in the family level. Selfishness in the family level. You sacrifice the nation's purpose for the sake of your family's purpose. So, living for the sake of others also should be, understood as also living for the sake of a higher purpose. When you are faced with a situation, your family's purpose and then the nation's purpose, it should be very clear to you that nation's purpose should be priority and your family's purpose should be secondary. Once you sacrifice the national purpose for your family's purpose, we call it what? Corruption. We call it selfishness in the family level. So again, selfishness is not only individual level. There is also selfishness in the national level. For example, you want to You want to sacrifice the world level purpose for the sake of your nation, not because you love your nation. So other nations should sacrifice for my nation. You think like this. And you know why the United Nations did not really function well? Because each member nations of the UN are only thinking what the UN can do for my country. The representative of nations think what the UN can do for my country. They're not thinking what my country can do for the UN, what my country can do for the world. How can my country sacrifice for the world? They don't have that kind of concept. That's why the UN cannot function well, you see? So there are different levels of selfishness. And remember, living for the sake of higher purpose is actually living for the sake of others. Be careful about this, no? Because some people say, oh, I live for the sake of my family. I live for the sake of others already. Even though I sacrifice the purpose of my nation, no? I get the budget from my nation to support my family. It is still living for the sake of others. No, it is not like that. That is what? Corruption. It's very clear. But only because you don't know. So living for others should go together hand in hand with living for the sake of higher purpose. Thank you.
Yes, it's very, 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 very clear. The family, I mean, the society should not be sacrificed for the sake of the family, and or the whole, the nation should not be sacrificed for the sake of society. It should be pa-higher yung purpose. So actually, we have a lot of questions here, but we have time constraints then. So don't worry, guys. I have saved your questions, and we will ask them later. Pero for now, let's have a short 5-minute break, and let's be back here at 3:25. Okay. So I would like to thank our speaker again for the questioning of the answers. Wait, the question, the answering of the questions. Very, very clear. So, questioning of the answer. Can you question me answer? No. Yes. So see you guys back at 3:25.
Huh? Yeah. Boleh gini ya? Hah? Ito, pagkita sa'yo. Hindi gaano ka-importante yung mukha na yan. Ayan. Ayan, no? Oh. Oh. See? Wala akong magandang tao ba? Yung ibang races, anak niya, siya. Ha? Anyway, something like that. Sir, ayun pa rin.
Hello.
Careful. Tingnan mo. Tingnan mo yung mga prices mo. Gusto mo sabi. Image of God. Image of God. Yes, ito. Yes. Image of God.
Just going there in while. Nagkilay pa yan si Ate Letty. Pogi ni sir.
Ako naman, ako naman.
Ba't may filter yan?
O CAUSA! Anyong!
Wait lang. Hoy, Freya!
Ano ka mga sige na. Kulang ko na. Dog. Oh, yung tipet. Tapos lang nakakapag.
Wala na yung ano ko. Good.
Yes. Welcome back. Welcome back, brothers and sisters. Ayan. So, okay ba yung break natin? Ang pogi talaga pag ano, no? Pag unification is... So, before we continue with our program, can I just ask all of the participants to show their video so we can take a group photo? Yung may mga camera lang. Yan. So let's see your beautiful faces from Luzon, Visayas, Mindanao, and all over the world. So, technical, are you ready? Okay. So, let's smile at 3. 1, 2, 3, smile. Yan. So, one more. One more. Okay. 1, 2, 3, smile. Okay. Yes. So, I hope we had our minds rested and ready for our next lecture, because recently is a little bit heavy yung mga pinag-aaral natin, but let us remember that we should learn not only through mind but also through heart. Ngayon, without further ado, I am honored to present our speaker for this day, our speaker for our event, for him to continue uh, his presentation or lecture for Introduction to Godism. Let's all give a warm clap reaction to our speaker, Reverend Dr. Edgar Tanate. Okay.
Okay na? Huh? Okay. Yes. Good afternoon once again, everybody. Are you okay? Anyway, let's start again our topic on the lecture 4, that is the counter proposal to communism. God versus communism. Wow. Okay. Let's begin now. There are 4 fundamentals of communism. Number 1, absolute materialism. Second, the law of dialectics. Third, the historical materialism. And fourth, man as the product of his environment. Let's study this topic one by one. This will take a little bit of time, so I would like to ask everybody to be more patient. Let's go first with absolute materialism. So, absolute materialism, the first fundamentals of communism. So, absolute materialism says there is no God and that the essence of the universe is matter. So, priority is matter, and then secondary is what they call the spirit, or something that is invisible, or energy. So, absolute materialism does not believe in God. Everything in the universe is basically, fundamentally, matter. We have to expose the lie. To expose the lie, we have to declare the truth. Because truth is light, and communism is darkness. So if there is light, darkness will automatically, how do you say, be covered, be filled with light. So we have our counter proposal to communism is Godism, and Godism is the truth. It will present a higher degree of ideology, a superior ideology that will really make communism, be exposed as a lie. So let me first deal with absolute materialism. Absolute materialism says that there is no God. Therefore, if we can prove that God exists, then absolute materialism is naturally, how do you say, disregarded, discarded, as a belief, system. So, does God exist? I think for people like us, the Filipino people, we believe in God, so this should not be an issue. But I tell you, as I travel in different parts of the world, there are nations that does not believe in God. There are people who does not believe in God. So how do we explain this to them? God is the source of absolute value. But how can we know God? So we can say that we can know God through science, philosophy, and personal experience. Because of time constraint, I'll only focus more on the science aspect, where I am very familiar with. So, according to communism, that communism alone is scientific. So they're saying that they believe that communism is scientific. They believe that science is their ally. Science will relegate God and religion into some kind of a mythology. In fact, Marx himself said, religion is the opium of the people. What does that mean? People become like drug addicts as if they're taking opium. They don't know what they're doing. They do strange things once they believe in a religion. It's just like when one takes opium, which is a drug, then they don't know what they're doing. They're doing strange things. So Marx is saying effectively that religion is the opium or the drugs, like a drug, no, of the people. But according to my friend, a physicist, Dr. Paul Davies, he said that, in my opinion, science offers a surer path to God than religion. He believes that science can prove, God's existence and can testify about God's existence more than religion can do. This is amazing, eh? He's a physicist and he's saying this. So now the 20th century science, particularly molecular biology, nuclear physics, theory of relativity, and thermodynamics, can prove to us that God exists. How can that be possible? No? The 18th century science, looks like become the ally of communists, but this time in modern science, there are so many questions that were answered already through the development of science. So let's talk about this now. It's very clear, however, that we do not create ourselves. We are what? Resultant beings. We are definitely resultant beings because we do not create ourselves. In molecular biology, they made some kind of an experiment. Like they want to check the origin of life. Where did life come from? They check. How did life come about? They want to know. So these molecular biologists, they try to get the main elements of a living being. Like, for example, human being, our body, which is actually living, isn't it? It's alive. It's alive. But when you check the ultimate composition of the human body, or any living being at that, it is basically composed of three things. And that is carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen. Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen are non-living beings. They are non-living beings. But why are they the main component of a living being? So they thought, how about we combine this carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen in a system, in a closed system, and then introduce some kind of spark, like electrodes, and heating up that system, introduce some kind of a heating system that can be adjusted through a cooling system also, and then eventually synthesize this carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, which are non-living beings. And then they want to know, is it possible to create life out of these non-living elements, carbon, hydrogen, oxygen? Is it possible? Because, human beings, animals, their main composition is what? Carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, which are non-living things. But here comes human being who is very much alive. So he tried to make this experiment. Is it possible to make life out of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen through this kind of like a Big Bang theory, like introducing sparks or electrodes in the system, in this closed system? They made a lot of experiments here and there with thousands of experiments, but they can only make one conclusion, my brothers and sisters. Molecular biologists only can conclude life comes only from life. They cannot produce life out of carbon, hydrogen, and oxygen, no matter how much experiment or synthesizing this kind of non-living matter. They cannot make life out of that non-living elements. So the conclusion is final. Life comes only from life. If there are living beings on this earth, they must have come from a cause which is also living. So the creator must be a living being. Why? Because the creation are living beings. And life comes only from life. So this suggests the existence of a living being we call God. Some people say, oh, to see is to believe. Can you see God? You cannot see God. Therefore, why believe in God? You cannot see God. To see is to believe. But look at nuclear physics. Huh? Matter, when scientists try to split matter and try to check what is the composition of matter, they discovered it is composed of molecules. When they tried to split and break molecules, they found out that molecules are made of atoms. And then when they split the atom, it becomes like microparticles. And eventually it becomes energy. Oh, no? So matter suddenly disappears. Actually, this is the concept of the nuclear bomb. Nuclear bomb. By splitting the atom, then tremendous amount of energy is produced. So from matter, it becomes non-matter, which is energy. Can you see energy? You cannot see energy. So you cannot see energy, meaning you don't believe that there is energy. Oh my goodness. You'll be in big trouble. You cannot see the COVID-19 virus, but do you believe it exists? Actually, you don't have a choice because the effect is very clear. People die. You know, people become sick. If you don't believe there is COVID-19, you are stupid or not. Actually, no, you are stupid. No, you cannot see it and then you don't believe it exists. You are stupid. No, the evidence is there. You can see. No, so you have no choice but to believe. So my friend Albert Einstein gave this formula. E is equal to mc squared, meaning energy can be converted to mass or matter and mass to energy. So this alone can testify to us that energy, though we cannot see it, this is real, and this universe is composed of energy, basically composed of energy. So energy and matter can be interconvertible and interchangeable. Wow. So anyway, what time is it now? Do you have a watch? What time is it now? Anyway, let's consider a watch. Now you have a watch, right? What is the purpose of a watch? Purpose of the watch is to, of course, give us the correct time, isn't it? So, for example, you disintegrate the watch and then divide it into pieces. So you already separated all the small pieces, small parts of the watch, and then you put it in a container. And then you throw all the parts of that watch up in the air. Throw it up in the air. So is it possible that when all the parts go down and fell in the ground and reach the ground, those parts will combine together and become a watch and then tell you the correct time? Is it possible? For example, you throw it 1,000,000 times. Is it possible that all the parts come down and then fit together and become a watch and give the time like this? Correct time? Is it possible? I tell you, even though you do it billions of times, it will never come down as a watch that gives you the right time. Why? Because that watch, for it to give a right time, somebody designed it. Somebody planned for it. Somebody has a clear purpose for that watch. Oh, this watch should give me the right time, correct time. So, a simple watch even requires and necessitates a creator, somebody that planned, somebody who planned, who made a purpose for that watch. Even that watch requires a creator. It cannot just be that you throw away all the parts and then goes down, then becomes a watch that tells you the right time. The earth and the universe is perfect in design and function. You can see the earth revolves around the sun. We call it the solar system with the rest of the planets. And then they are not bumping each other. And then the plant kingdom, animal kingdom share oxygen, carbon dioxide, like this. Really, this kind of earth, which is more complicated than a watch, Don't you think this earth requires a creator? Even that watch, no, requires a creator. Much more with earth. No? This earth cannot just become earth like this, perfectly functioning, no? With oxygen and hydrogen and carbon dioxide, animal kingdom, plant kingdom, breathing, inhale, exhale, perfectly like this for thousands of years, for millions of years like this, with the atmosphere, with a temperature that is right enough for human beings and plants and animals to survive, with the planets going around the solar system. Do you think this happened only by accident, by random selection, and nobody planned it? Impossible. It is impossible. Therefore, no, this world definitely cannot come by what? Accident or random selection. Cannot. Because the cardinal rule of science is the law of cause and effect. If the effect is the world that we are living in today, that is more complicated than the watch, and the watch requires a maker, requires a creator. This world, which is more complicated, definitely requires a creator with a clear purpose. This magnificent and beautiful world requires a creator, and we call that creator God. Adu? So conclusion, there is God. Therefore, absolute materialism is not correct. It is not valid. There is God. Absolute materialism is wrong. Let's go now to the law of dialectics. So based the Marxism is saying that the laws of nature are dialectical, and that if there is a thesis and antithesis fighting each other, in conflict with each other, then what will happen is that synthesis will come about, which is better than the thesis and the antithesis. This is what they're saying. There is development if there is conflict. No? There is development, there is progress if there is conflict. But let's present the critique to this Marxist dialectic. Law number one, when it comes to the relationship, let's check. Marxism says that there is synthesis once there is opposition and fighting each other, no, between two opposing entities. This kind of teaching requires no purpose. No? When they fight each other, they don't have a purpose. When two entities fight each other, no need for purpose. And it is a subject-to-subject relationship, positive to positive, repulsion kind of relationship, contradiction. It leads to destruction. How about Godism? Godism, on the other hand, teaches us that there is subject and object, which are complementary to each other, and they unite centered on a certain purpose, centered on God. It is in a subject-object relationship, just like positive and negative, and it follows the law of cooperation, which is constructive. No, it constructs, it builds. No, cooperation builds, develops. So Godism says it's because of give and take action that there is development. Communism says it's because of contradiction that there is development. Who is correct? Let's study more deeply about this. What we are saying is that the law of nature are the laws of cooperation. Check the animal kingdom and the plant kingdom. Although the animal kingdom eats the plant kingdom, they eat the plants, animals, but still the plant kingdom exists. It continues to exist. So what is the essential and most central aspect in the relationship between plant kingdom and animal kingdom? Is it that of conflict? Is it like fighting each other? Look at this. When animals, where human beings are involved, animal kingdom, we inhale oxygen. The animal kingdom inhales oxygen. Inhale, and then we exhale carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is taken by the plant kingdom, and together with sunshine in a process we call photosynthesis, the plant kingdom will release oxygen to the animal kingdom. So it's like a give and take action. Inhale, exhale. Can you imagine if the plant kingdom become angry to the animal kingdom? And then 3 minutes, they will not give oxygen. Oh my goodness. Plant kingdom does not want to give oxygen to the animal kingdom. Only 3 minutes. What will happen to the animal kingdom? Oh no. And then animal kingdom, If the animal kingdom dies and does not give carbon dioxide to the plant kingdom, what will happen to the plant kingdom? It's a total destruction. Nobody will exist. But the fundamental relationship between the plant kingdom and the animal kingdom is that of give and take, cooperation. It is because of cooperation, it is because of give and take action that there is development. Look at this. The law of progress in human society is by following the law of cooperation. If there is cooperation, give and take action between parents and children, good relationship between teachers and students, good relationship between employers and employees, give and take action between the consumers and businesses, what happens? There is what? Development. There is progress. So likewise, in our mind and body united together, centered on God, then you can become a good person. But if your mind and body is centered on evil, then you can become an evil person. It's simple as that. And also, if husband and wife love each other, centered on God, they can become happy family, happy couple with children. It's a happy family. If the government and the people support each other, unite with each other, cooperate with each other, then the well-being of the nation is secured. Even the communists, Lenin and the followers, they united together, centering on the purpose of the revolution. That's why in 1917, the Bolshevik Revolution was a success. Why it was successful? Because they unite together, Lenin and the followers. Even communism, how do you say, practice the law of cooperation for them to progress and develop. And then they're teaching that because of conflict there is development. What an irony it is. So let's check magnetism or electricity. Positive and negative, according to the law of attraction, unlike charges attract and like charges repel. So positive and negative attracts, and then positive, positive, negative, negative repels. This is the law of nature. Let's check about this law of repulsion. In the case of repulsion, what is the purpose of this law of repulsion? So for example, there is this positive and negative, which are actually complementary pairs. Once they unite together, then there is development, right? But there are situations when the positive charge is not in the right place or in a safe distance to attract with the negative. So what should be done here so that the positive will go to its right position and unite with the negative? Then there must exist another positive that will repel that positive charge so that that positive charge will go to its right position and eventually in the position to unite with the negative pair, and then development takes place. So what is the purpose of the law of repulsion? The purpose of the law of repulsion is to facilitate, to assist, to help in facilitating give and take action. So between these two laws, the law of give and take action or the law of attraction is the main law, and the law of repulsion is the secondary law in support of the main law, which is the law of give and take action. So number one or priority should be the law of give and take action, and the law of repulsion should be secondary. This is Godism. This is true. This is the law of the universe, the law of development. But communism reversed all of this. They put the law of repulsion as the main law and the law of give and take action as the secondary law. So they're saying that, oh, look, check the history of the Philippines. What? Spanish Revolution, Japanese occupation, American Revolution, EDSA Revolution, 1, 2, 3, ladies. And see, history of the Philippines is history of war, history of conflict. That's why Philippines is developing compared to before. Same with the history of other nations. It is developing because of conflict. You see, they're saying like that. Also, world history, World War I, World War II, Cold War. Because of this, there is development. Is it true that because of conflict there is development? Why is it that it seems that nations develop even though there is war? I tell you why. No? It is because of the same principle I explained to you, like this one. If you look at this, the purpose of the law of repulsion. For example, the leader in the position of positive is supposed to unite with the people in the position of negative. But they did not unite because the leader, which is positive, is very far from the people. They cannot unite. So what will happen here is that God will send another person, no? Another positive, so that they fight each other. And finally, when they fight each other, this positive charge, this leader has no choice. And these people, no choice but to unite together. Like during the time of Spanish occupation, people, the Filipino people unite together. During Japanese occupation, certain number of people unite together against the Japanese, against the Americans. So because of the unity of the Filipino people, because of the war, because we were invaded, then development takes place. It's not because of the war that there is development. It is the war only facilitates the unity of the people, which in turn results in development. So it is because of cooperation that there is development. But if there is no cooperation, then war is necessary. Can you look at that? But if there's already cooperation, no, then development will take place without war. And you can look at that. Some nations that are always at war, look at them. What happened to them? Like in the Middle East, no, always war. Nations that are always at war, their people became miserable. In Africa, in many parts of the world, nations that are always in war, at war, they are the nation that became very poor, isn't it? So it is because of give and take action that there is development. War only takes place if man will not fulfill their portion of responsibility and therefore cannot unite together, and eventually war is necessary. So communist teaching where they put priority to the law of repulsion as the main law, like this, give and take action secondary law, is false. It cannot be true. The law of cooperation being the priority is the true philosophy and ideology, and it believes in God. While law of dialectics is false, and they say there is no God. So progress through conflict is what law of dialectics is teaching us. But we know already that progress only takes place through cooperation and not through conflict. So the law of dialectics is wrong. Progress through conflict is wrong because progress using conflict, that's why there is give and take action. No? That is what is right. No? So progress through cooperation is correct. Let's go now to the change when it comes to change from quality to quantity. Marx is saying that first there is quantity, meaning many people. Many when it comes to number, there are so many, and then later on it screen itself and eventually lead to quality, not so many but high quality. And this is like being done through abrupt transformation. So quantity and quality is not clearly distinguished here. Change is often continuous and gradual. Let's go back to the example given by Marx. And this is the egg, the concept of the egg. Marx is saying that the embryo in the egg is growing and growing, right? Becomes bigger and bigger. The quantity becoming bigger and bigger. And then it comes a time when the shell is already stopping the development of the, the embryo. So in order for progress to continue, the shell should be broken. And then once it is broken, they're saying that abruptly the chicken appear, the chick appear, which is like socialism. And capitalism is destroyed. This capitalism is the shell. And by revolution, by promoting revolution, then this shell can break, Capitalism can be destroyed. Then socialism, the chick can emerge like this. But is it really like that? What happened inside the egg actually is not just uh, increasing in terms of quantity or number. It becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. No. While it becomes bigger, it is at the same time transforming its quality from embryo to become chick. While inside the egg, it is slowly and gradually becoming a chick. It is not that the embryo become bigger and bigger and bigger, and then the shell breaks, and then the big embryo suddenly, abruptly become chick. No, it is not like that. What's happening is that from quantity, small embryo, it grows. As it grows, it transforms slowly to become a chick while inside the egg. Why I know about this? Why? Because in the Philippines, there is balot. You know, this balot, they cook this unborn chick while still inside the egg. That's why I know. Right? Inside this egg, it's not only the egg becoming bigger and bigger. It is while inside the egg, it is slowly transforming from embryo to chick while still inside the egg. And then what happens after that? What happens after that when the chick is already ready to be born, like that? Communism says it should be violent destruction of the shell. But when the chick goes out of the shell, do you really think it is violent? You know, have you seen a chick being hatched and a chick going out of the shell? Have you seen that? I myself, I saw. It's very, very beautiful. It's very, very cute. You know, first this chick will, how do you say, with his beak, no? Tinutusok niya yung shell ng kanyang, itong beak. And then only small hole. First, you can see small hole. Slowly, small hole is trying to prick that shell. And then, very, very cute. Huh? Slowly, the eggshell breaks. And then the chick came out. What a beautiful situation. But what? Karl Marx described it as some kind of a revolution between the chick and the shell, and the eggshell. Oh, how terrible it is. It is not like that. I don't know if Marx have seen the chick coming out from this shell. It's very natural. This egg story, communism is saying it's destruction. But actually, it is a natural, cyclical transformation without destruction. Meaning, it is a natural transformation. It is not considered destruction at all. It's a transformation. So what we're saying here is that dialectical materialism is not valid. Why? Because conflict leading to progress is not true. It is progress through cooperation that is true. Therefore, dialectical materialism is not valid. So next, let's go to the counter proposal to historical materialism. Number 3. In short, I'll just go to the shortcut, my brothers and sisters. Since dialectical materialism is not valid, and historical materialism is based on dialectical materialism, saying that history is developing, history is progressing through conflict, because of conflict. Therefore, if dialectical materialism is not valid, it follows, without saying that historical materialism, whose basis is dialectical materialism, therefore is also not valid. So, we know that man, out of his own free will, according to the story in the Bible, the first man and woman created this evil world instead of good world, out of their own free will. So let's talk about man's portion of responsibility. Why did God give man free will? God is love, and he created man for love. Man is not created as a robot or a machine. Actually, God has two choices in the creation. Either to create a person with a free will or a robot that is programmed. So I always give this example. No? For example, I am a very great scientist, and I was able to make a robot. No? And then I programmed the robot. Okay, Mr. Robot, when I arrive home, you greet me, and then you get my shoes, change it with slipper, and then you cook my dinner. So I program my robot like this. And then when I arrive home, the robot said to me, Mr. Edgar, good afternoon. Oh. So what do you think? Am I happy or not? Of course, I'm happy, right? Wow, it works. No, my robot works. And then the robot said, these are your slippers. Please give me your shoes. Please sit for a while I cook your dinner. Oh my gosh. So are you happy? Your robot is like that? Of course. Yeah? Wow. No? Robot is really nice. Okay, you remember that kind of feeling. You remember that kind of happiness. And then compare that happiness when the situation is like this. No? Your son, no? Who does not look, your son who looks like you, no? Your son, no, looks like you, okay? Does not look like your neighbor, no? But your son looks like you. And then, when you arrive home, your son told you, Papa, instead of greeting you good afternoon, your son said, Papa, what kind of papa are you? Why only now you arrive? No? Pinagalitan ka pa. Huh? Your son say like this to you. And then your son said, Papa, I'm hungry. I want to eat, but I no food. Can you cook for me? Oh, what will you do? Very cute son, no? Looks like you. And then asked you to cook food for him. And then I cook food for my son. No? And then give food for my son. Am I happy or not? Happy or not? Which one I'm more happy? The feeling with my robot, I deal with my robot, or the way I deal with my son? Which one do you think I'm more happy? I tell you, it's obvious, no? Of course, I'm more happy with my son. But imagine, your son asked you to cook for him. The robot cook for you. The robot greet you. But your son even angry to you. But still you're happy with your son. Why? Why? This is a very important question, right? Why? There are three reasons for free will and human responsibility. Later on, we'll answer that question, okay? So man is what? Co-creator. No? God gave man creativity. So in order to perfect man, God's responsibility is 95%. But man's responsibility is only 5%. So why God is 95%? Because God created your body. God created your nose, your hair, everything about you, your spirit, everything. And what is this man's responsibility? 5%? That 5% is only what? Obey God's commandment. Only like this. Obey God's commandment out of your own free will. Nobody forced you. Like this. So if only man fulfill his responsibility, then 100% man would have been perfected. No? So man has a responsibility that God gave, and therefore God will not interfere, right? God will not interfere because it is man's responsibility. So, like father, like son, or like daughter, if God has free will and is responsible, God's partner of love must also be free and responsible. Now, here is the answer for why you are more happy with your son than with the robot. No? So why you're more happy with your son? Because robot has no free will. You already program your robot. Okay, cook dinner for me, greet me. You already know what your robot will do. Because it is you who program the robot, right? But for your son has free will. Huh? Out of his own free will, he will either greet you or do something like this. He has a free will. And also, love is voluntary. You cannot force a person to love you. Robot, you can force, no? You just program the robot to love you, already, robot will do. But, no, human being cannot be programmed like that. Love is voluntary, no? If you coerce a person to love you, that is not love. If you force a person to love you, that is not love. That is what? Slavery. No? Because man has free will. And because of this free will, no, man was given the ability to love. So without free will, man cannot love. Right? Love is voluntary. It has to be done out of your own free will. If you force a person to love you, it's not really, you experience only a small degree of happiness. But if man voluntarily, no, your son voluntarily, your daughter voluntarily love you, out of his own free will like that, the highest level of joy and happiness is experienced between you and your child. Because the nature of love is that voluntary. So God gave man free will because man is in the position as the children of God. The children of God should be free. God is free. How do you say? Subject and object, two beings engaging in a love relationship, both should be free. So, did God fulfill his responsibility? Yes, 95%. Did man fulfill his responsibility? 5%, which is to have faith and obedience to the word of God? No. That's why the fulfillment of God's ideal on earth, which is the kingdom of heaven on earth, or a world of lasting peace, or utopia on earth, was not realized because man failed to fulfill his responsibility. Therefore, the key to success is the fulfillment of our portion of responsibility. So free will and human responsibility, man holds the key to the consummation of human history, which is to build the heavenly kingdom. God never fails, but man fails to respond to God's will. That's why the prolongation of the goal of human history, which is the establishment of utopia, paradise on earth, or the kingdom of heaven on earth, or a world of lasting peace, it was prolonged because man continuously fails to respond to God's will. If man will now fulfill the responsibility, our world will definitely change. This world will become one family under God, everybody's brothers and sisters, and we can live in harmony together, everybody's happy. So, we have to fulfill the human responsibility of faith and obedience to God's will. So what is Godism? What is the view of Godism on history? One, history has a goal. What is that? History is moving toward the fulfillment of God's original ideal of creation, which is a world of lasting peace, the kingdom of heaven on earth. That is the goal. That is the end, the direction of history. Number two, history of restoration. What is the role of men and women in history? We are what? Partners with God in restoration. Why partners? Because we have a portion of responsibility to fulfill that even God will not interfere. We have to be partners, meaning we do it by ourselves, voluntarily, out of our own free will. And third, we recognize, Godism recognizes that history is a history of struggle. Yeah, it's a history of struggle, but not between subject and object, not between positive and negative, but between good and evil. No? God's side and Satan's side. So what is, the last topic is, what is CAUSA or Godism's view on man? Now we'll discuss the last topic, man as the product of his environment. So, Marx is saying, communism is saying, economic alienation is the cause of evil. It's easier to understand if you say like this. The lack of money, the lack of money is the cause of all evil and all problems. No? If you have no money, many problems. Is that true? Actually, no. This is true, right? If you try to see in a practical way, economic problem or economic alienation is the cause of evil. People do some kind of, people become bad because they are poor. So they do so many things that are not in accordance with the law. This is what they're saying. So economic problem is the cause of evil. Communism says like this. So, communists say, if we change the economic system, it will bring regeneration of man. So it's just like saying, if you give all Filipinos $1 million each, oh my gosh, no? Changing the economic system. Give people $1 million each, then man will not commit bad things anymore. Man will become good already. Man will not become evil if you give them $1 million. Do you believe this? Do you agree? You think if you give $1 million to rapists and killers and what? Hold-uppers and kidnappers, do you think they will stop being bad person and they will become people who live for the sake of others and become good people? Let's see. Elimination, next. Elimination of private property brings ideal society or utopia. So, you get all the properties of the rich people, their money, their bank accounts, their properties. And then, no, the society, the nation will own all of this. And then just, no, use this to support everybody in their food, for their housing, like that. So everybody is equal. So, this is what communism is saying. We can become equal. Everybody's equal. Nobody's rich, nobody's poor. And then nobody will commit sin anymore. Nobody will commit, how do you say, evil things anymore if they have money. So money is the solution, no, to all the problems of the world. Do you believe like this? It is very practical. Huh? It looks like it is correct, right? Let's check. How do we look at this kind of philosophy based on Godism's point of view? It is just like saying, if there is change in internal character of man, you say that. If there is change in the external system, which is the economy, then there will be change in the internal character of man. And then, it's just like the external system is the effect, actually. The internal character is the cause. They're just saying, communism is saying, change in effect will eventually lead to change in the cause. Baliktad yata. No? Hindi yata tama yun, no? Change mo yung result, tapos yung pinanggalingan niya mabago din? Really? This is a contradiction to scientific principles, which is the law of cause and effect. In order to change the effect, you have to change the cause. Even though you change the effect, it will not necessarily, no, change the cause. Let me give you more example on this. Communist view is that man is like an advanced animal. No? Ape is a little more dumb. Man is a little more clever. Ape became man because of labor. Like that. And ape became more smarter and smarter and smarter as years go by. And finally became smart. No? Man, become man, which is a little more clever. So let's see. So man is a matter in motion. No, no spirit. Only matter, no, in motion. God and eternal life are just illusions. God is only the product of the imagination using the brain. Communist is saying like this. So what is the communist view of man? No base for human rights. If you look at man that way, no, you cannot look at man as, no, human beings with human rights. No base for freedom. No base for creativity. No room for love. Huh? You look at man as coming from the ape. No? So ape is animal, right? So have you seen the ape rights? The rights of the apes? you promote. How can you promote? No? Man is just advanced ape. No? So how can you promote man's rights, human rights? No? If you don't consider the rights of animals. Oh my goodness. So communism is what? Dehumanization. Robotization is actually worse than slavery. So everybody is controlled, no? Godism's point of view is different. Man is not just an animal. Man is not just matter in motion. Man is a divine being. So man is a spirit and has a body, not a body with a spirit. Okay. Let's see. What is the difference between body with a spirit and spirit with a body? Actually, no. They are actually opposite. Very different. If you say man is a body with a spirit, that means subject is body, object is spirit. Meaning man is primarily body and secondarily spirit. But if you say man is a spirit and has a body, that means that primarily, number one, man is a spirit, and then secondary, body. No? So first, mind's desire. Secondary, bodily desire. This is spirit with a body. But body with a spirit, meaning body is number one, spirit is number two. So CAUSA's view is what? Man is a spirit and has a body. Man is created for a definite purpose. Man is not happy unless he is functioning as he was made to function. For example, look at this violin, right? Do you like violin? Somebody here who knows how to play the violin? Now here, violin produces very beautiful music with this girl who knows how to use it, this violin. So once you use the violin based on its purpose, then the violin has value, isn't it? It's very valuable, no? Very expensive, no? If you know how to use it and you know its purpose. But if a person does not know the value of the violin, ginawang panghampas ng puwet, no? Katulad niya, no? Sa drawing, no? Violin, ang ginawa mong panghampas sa puwet. So your violin has that kind of value or not? Oh my goodness. It loses its value. Why? Because you use it for another purpose. It is not the purpose, no, of the violin, no, to hit somebody like this. Its value will become very low if you do like that. But if you use it based on its original value, wow, it's very, very precious, no, compared to this one. So likewise, no, between God and man and God should be in a relationship of love. If God and man love each other, then both God and man will experience joy and happiness. And that we can feel the fulfillment of our life, the fulfillment of our purpose. So happiness does not come from the pursuit of happiness. Happiness comes in fulfilling one's commitments. Happiness is not a goal. Happiness is a reward. So man has both the physical aspect and the spiritual aspect. The physical aspect follows the physical laws. It is temporal, mechanical, and animal aspects based on the instinct. But the spiritual aspect of man, which is the mind, follows spiritual laws, is eternal, created in the image of God, and is the divine mind, no? Holy mind. The physical aspect of man, which is the body, should be object, and the spiritual aspect of man is in the subject position, or the priority, number one. But communism kills the spirit of man. In the book of Psalms, it says, the fool says in his heart, there is no God. They are corrupt. They do abominable deeds. There is none that does good. Have they no knowledge, all the evildoers who eat up my people as they eat bread? So Godism's view of man is that man is the image of God, and that man is the visible manifestation of the invisible God. Look at that. Beautiful or not? Beautiful, right? This is a human being, no? This one, handsome boy, huh? Rich sales boy. Oh, my mother appeared, no? Beautiful girl, like this. Then, oh, my son appeared. Huh? Sons and daughters of God. And then who is this? Huh? Top Gun. Huh? Beautiful people, no? From India or Nepal. This one from which country? This one? I'm not sure already. This one looks like Malaysian, no? Or maybe Singapore. Huh? Looks like Chinese. This one, is this Filipina or Thai? No? Beautiful people, right? Sons and daughters of God. Dapat ang mukha ng excuse stuff lagay ko rito eh. But anyway, this is sons and daughters of God, right? So, Godism's view on man, we are sons and daughters of God. We are eternal being. And there exists the physical world and the spiritual world, which is the subject and object position. And man is in the position to unite the spiritual world, the physical world, because we have both the physical body and the spiritual aspect. And man follow the three stages of life. Remember, this is the Godism's view of man. So we live through these three stages in our lives. The embryonic stage, which is liquid while in the mother's womb. The terrestrial age, which environment is air in the physical world. And in the spiritual stage, which is the spiritual world, where the environment is love. So it is the family, in the family, that we develop our love. So in the family, there are husbands, wives, children. If the family lives for the sake of each other, sacrifice for the sake of each other, centered on God, they sacrifice for each other, they love each other, they take care of each other. They experience children's love, brotherly, sisterly love, parental love, conjugal love. Then that family is a happy family. Once you experience this, four kinds of love, you experience the love of God. Even though God is invisible, but you can feel God's love through your family. You can feel God's love through the love of your son to you. You can feel God's love through the love of your brother or sisters towards you. You can feel God's love through the love of your wife or your husband towards you. You can feel God's love through the love of your parents. So all of these combined together is like the love of God. So God can be placed as the center of our family if we put true love as the center of our family. So these three stages of life, human beings pass through these three stages of life, and that we fulfill our purpose and we become happy and successful people. Let me deal with this eternal aspect, the spiritual stage. So man has both the physical self and the spiritual self. Combined together, we have both the physical and spiritual self as we are living in the physical world. The physical self survives by receiving what we call air, sunlight, water, and food, isn't it? So air and sunlight are like positive elements. Water and food is like negative elements. So we need both positive and negative elements in order to survive. The physical body survives with this. So how about air and sunlight? Is it free or you have to pay for it? Do you need air and sunlight? Oh my gosh. Without air, 3 minutes. Difficult. Maybe you die. Without sunlight, also you die. It's good, no? Air and sunlight are free, right? Or else you have to buy it. We are forced to buy it. Water and food, is it free? Sometimes, when you attend seminar, maybe. Sometimes it's free. But otherwise, you have to eat. You have to work hard in order to buy food, or drink water. So, air and sunlight is free. Water and food, you have to take responsibility. Both of this, your physical self needs in order to survive. How about your spirit? The spiritual self needs the life elements from God. That is what? God's love, and God's truth. So God's love and God's truth are equivalent to air and sunlight for the physical body. What else the spiritual self needs? We need what we call the life elements, the vitality elements that comes from the physical self. So the spiritual elements can be given by your spiritual self to the physical self. And the physical self can give vitality elements to the spiritual self. So meaning, every action of man has eternal impact. Man reaps what he sows. If our physical body do good things, it can give good elements, good vitality elements to your spirit, and your spirit grows up to become a good spirit. Man has no one to blame but himself. Man must live a moral and responsible life. Remember, we reap what we sow. So if we don't do good things will
Sa
come.
positive.
If you do bad things, then
Isiling
bad things will
ko,
come
swab
out.
yun ah. Si Miro, refuse siya kay sige do, kung ni-swab
So,
kami do.
communism, communism promotes hatred. Therefore, since communism destroys the family and religion and promotes hatred, communism eventually is killing us spiritually. It leads to spiritual death. Communism will assist in your spiritual death because it destroys religion, it destroys family, and this promotes hatred. So spiritual death is real death. There is also physical death. Can you imagine? Communism can kill you physically and definitely kill you spiritually because it is an ideology that teaches that there is no God. So communism brought 150 million physical deaths and billions more in spiritual death. Wow, billions in spiritual death because they teach there is no God. So people who does not believe in God is considered spiritually dead. Therefore, in the name of God and in the name of humanity, communism must be stopped. Aju, thank you very much for listening, brothers and sisters.
Yes. Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Edgar Tonate. To show our appreciation, let's hit our clap reaction to show our gratitude to our speaker. Yes, the name, for the sake of God and humanity, communism must be stopped. Because man is not a body with a spirit, but man is a spirit with a body. Yes, I know everybody has a lot of questions. Actually, people are actually sending me na agad during the lecture siguro para hindi makalimutan. So, thank you so much, Dr. Edgar Tanate. So, let's move on to our question and answer. So, for now, I'll go back to some of our questions before. So, it's still naman connected to communism, and it asks the question about communism before. So, the first question is, Kuya, if communism is defeated or gone, would it be that capitalism will also stop or defeated or be also gone? Do we still need that kind of system in which we have to sell and buy products? Or ultimately, everyone will share resources and goods without the thought of exchange, like money. So maybe this is in the future of, do we still adopt the capitalism in the system of Chunilgo?
Thank you for that question. Actually, when I read some of Father's speech regarding this, I can see that it will be a gradual change. It will not be abrupt, like we suddenly depart from the existing system of democracy or communism. It will be gradual, meaning we are slowly changing from the system of government from democracy. Basically, the basis is democracy. It's gradually changed to the Chonilguk aspect of governance. Like, for example, now, our true mother had established the heavenly constitution, and based on the heavenly constitution, I think we established the five, we call that branches of government. In the democratic system, we only have three. No, that is like the legislative, judiciary, and the executive, right? So, but in the Chonilguk constitution, we have five. No, so we added two more. No, in this system, and that the two is the banking and finance, and then media and the PR. So media is like a one branch, what you call that, aspects of government, and the other is banking and finance. So this five, we call that one, no? 5-1 of Chonilguk, five branches is how do you say, slowly changing from the democratic system of government to adjust with the situation in the world today, and step by step, implement And our goal is to really make a system that will embrace both the communist system and the democratic system. But the main point in this structure is that it is based on the concept of living for the sake of others, sacrificing for the sake of higher purpose, and then, of course, the concept of hyojong, which is love to parents, respect to parents, and definitely purity, right? The aspect of pure love, purity before marriage and fidelity within marriage. This will be the basis of our structure for Chonilgu. Slowly, it is changing now. So we have this. I believe that if we can restore one nation, then these 5 organs of Chonilgu will be immediately implemented, and step by step, but surely we can have a governance that is in accordance with the divine principle, in accordance with the concept of living for the sake of others, in accordance with concept of purity and love of the parents. So this will be definitely different, from democracy and the communist system. But for sure, this new structure of governance will embrace both the democratic and the communist nations.
Yes, a system that will both embrace the communist and democratic system that is gradual in the future. Now, there is also a question a while ago. First, is it possible that the oligarchy is part of communism? Ayun. So this was asked by our brother Jonas.
I'm not really sure about that. But basically, the concept of how do you say, the concept we teach about selfishness. The man basically, even without knowing it, is actually selfish, only thinking about his benefit or his family's benefit as compared to the benefit of the nation. So if there are oligarchs or rich people controlling the economy, and they only think about their own family's safety, so all of their actions, will be supporting a national structure that protects their family. So it is, how do you say, if they really love the nation, then it will be totally different. If they love the world, then their actions will be totally different also. So it depends on what kind of oligarch that is. If they are prioritizing their own families, so they can support the communists, so that their family will be protected. Sometimes it's like that. They support a group of people that will protect their interest. So it's possible that they can support the communists. It's also possible that they are not supporting communists. So the main point, however, is that we have to educate these businessmen to really live for the sake of others and know about the principle. That's why True Mother founded the International Association of what's that? For Economic Development.
Ganun pala tayo.
Something like that. We have an organization for businessmen like that. I think in the future, this group of businessmen will help in the construction of the International Highway Project, which basically cost like more than $200 billion, to connect the Bering Strait, which is an 80-kilometer stretch connecting Russia and the United States of America. So let's hope for the best. My dear brothers and sisters, we have to witness even to the businessmen nowadays, because even us, we are selfish. If we don't know the principle, we don't know true parents, we are actually living a selfish life, actually. Even you without knowing it. So let's educate. First, let us study more deeply the divine principle, because as I see it, the divine principle is the basis for Godism and unification thought. So Father's teaching is expressed in 3 aspects. The divine principle, dealing with the emotion or religious side. The unification thought, dealing with the intellect, and then the what? The Godism, which deals with the will, no? So intellect, emotion, and will. No? Godism, unification thought, divine principle. But the root is actually what? The divine principle. So I said I would like to advise that we study deeply the divine principle, unification thought, and then Godism, and then change our lifestyle that we can naturally live for the sake of others, and then influence others through witnessing, through what? Conducting workshops and seminars that will really change our young people and really make good leaders out of our young people of today. So I hope that those who attend the conference now, this Godism lecture, we can develop this more and more so that it can reach out to the youth leaders of tomorrow, and that the future of our country will be guaranteed once we have a well-educated young people who naturally live for the sake of others, who love this nation, who really love the world. One thing I would like to share with you is, for example, when in my case, for example, just to give an example, when I give lecture to the ALC in Bangkok, in Thailand, VIPs, members of parliament from different parts of Asia Pacific attended this workshop. So it looks like I leave my nation. I left Philippines for a higher mission. Looks like I abandoned my country. But when these VIPs coming from different nations saw the lecturers like Dr. Kittel from America, and then Mrs. Ursula McLachlan from Germany, Dr. Yong from Korea, and then me from the Philippines, you know what other nations say? He said, "Whoa, you're a Filipino?" Even the Filipino VIPs told me, "Whoa, I'm very proud that there is a Filipino giving lecture to the Asia Pacific leaders like this. I'm proud of you." Oh, something like that. They say like that, meaning, we have to live for the sake of the world. Once we live for the sake of the world, even though we are not directly helping the Philippines, but we're giving honor to the Philippines. We're giving fortune to the Philippines. So our aim as leaders should not only be to work for the Philippines, but our goal should be to work for the sake of the world, so that we give honor and fortune to our nation. Living for the sake of higher purpose. Yeah? Thank you.
Jew living for the sake of the higher purpose. Yan. Tama. We should really empower everything na. And also, our sister, Lady, would actually want to add on that subject. She said, when a communist party is the ruling party in a communist-led one-party state, the general secretary is typically the country's de facto leader, though sometimes this leader also holds state-level positions such as presidency or premiership in order to hold the jure leadership of the state as well. There is a book, The Origin of Oligarchy, The Evolution of Communism in the USSR. So she would say, yes. So oligarchy is somehow like what Sir said. Sometimes the businessman or the oligarchy will support the communism, like what happened in the USSR. Sometimes naman hindi. Sometimes against pa sila. So another question that we have, actually ang dami nila, pero I will just pick the best, diba? Okay, this is one question. Is it right to say that repulsion is at work now at the global stage through the pandemic, with Satan being repelled and God's sovereignty will reign?
Actually, based on this ideology, based on this teaching, wherein repulsion facilitates give and take action, repulsion assists and supports give and take action, and through give and take action, then there is development, right? So what we are saying here is that we are now at a time when, even though there is war, even though something bad is happening. All of these things contributes to the establishment of God's kingdom of heaven on earth. Yeah, no? So even though there is COVID-19, even though there are many nations now, no, that are at war, because of this situation, many people are opening up their hearts and their minds. Oh, war is not so good. You have to unite together. No, this disease also cannot be fought by only one nation. All nations should unite together to solve this problem. People are opening up their minds. People have, changed their thinking, changed their mindset, and they're thinking that we are now living in a time when we have no choice. We have to unite. All nations has to unite. We cannot just live for the sake of our own nation. It is not beneficial for the world. So all this pandemic situation, this war, and many problems in the world is now we are experiencing now. All of these are contributing to the establishment of Chonilgu. No? So we, as the youth, no, we have to equip ourselves, no, with this incredible, wonderful principle. Study well, divine principle, unification thought, Godism. No, I tell you regarding studying the divine principle. No, when I was witnessed in 1984, my classmate witnessed to me and asked me to attend divine principle lectures seminar. The first time I attend divine principle lecture, I was not so impressed. In fact, I'm thinking, oh, so that is their belief. Okay, I respect your belief. I have my own belief. No, I say like this. So I'm not really impressed with the divine principle. And then later on, I was invited to join a CAUSA lecture, Godism lecture, just like this one. It's a 3 days lecture. The lecturer is a Filipino who was born in America, si Kuya Jerry Servito. And then when he gave this lecture, I was so impressed. Huh? Wow. No, the first day he lectured about communism. So I said, wow, what an intelligent Karl Marx. How was he able to figure this out? No, like that. And then the next day when I attend the Godism, the counter proposal, and then I thought, wow, the one who made this, no, Godism is smarter than Karl Marx. Amazing. I want to be a lecturer of this, of this philosophy. So I go to my leader, Kuya, I want to be lecturer of CAUSA, no, Godism. Can you teach me? Can you allow me to be lecturer of CAUSA? And then he said to me, no, no. You should study divine principle first, no? Because CAUSA is based on divine principle. So become lecturer of divine principle first before you become lecturer of CAUSA. Because of that, I was forced to study divine principle. Then later on, I realized, when I really studied deeply the divine principle, I realized, oh my gosh, this is the root of a Godism lecture. This is much better than Godism. That's how I became a divine principle lecturer. Conclusion, you have to study divine principle more deeply, no? And then you can teach any subject. You can teach unification thought. You can teach Godism. Aju?
Aju. So let's study first, or let's lay our roots very, very deeply first with learning the divine principle. I was surprised. Ano pala? Si Kuya Jerry Servito pala yung nag-lecture kay Sir. The father of Tongol Muda in the Philippines. So, another question. Okay. Okay, ito na. This is from, I don't know if, okay, I'll just say the question. Can we really say that a communist is also an atheist? As we all learned in communism is basically against religion. But today, there are many versions of communism. There have also been created yet a religion-based so-called Christian communism, who believes that Jesus Christ was actually a communist, and those Islamic movements that are very Marxist in nature.
Yeah, that is That is true, no? There is this another like branch of communism they call liberation theology.
No,
Members
liberation
of
theology.
this, these are actually communists, but the members are members of the clergy and the members of religion like priests and nuns and religious leaders, ministers. In fact, Father Halandoni, which is the founder of NDF from Iloilo, he's a priest, right? No, there are three priests that actually are founders and active members of NDF. They are priests. So it is true. Even in different nations, in North Korea, they have different style of communism. In Russia, China, they have different styles of communism. That's why they cannot work together. You know, Russia and China cannot work together. Only militarily maybe, but ideologically they are separate. No, they have different ways of teaching communist ideology also. So they adjust it based on their situation. And yeah, that's true. Not all communists are atheists. Some people, they believe in God, but they want the concept of equality. They want the concept of freedom, of justice, like that. So they only take what they like from communism as an ideology. But the point of believing in God, they uh, they uh, they they are not necessarily atheists, right? There are different versions of communism nowadays. But even though, uh, in fact, some of us are even communist in practice. We just don't know, right? Communism says what? They're prioritizing, money is the root of all evil. It is, right? So if you have money, no, you can become good person. Some unificationists even believe like this. If you're poor, you cannot join the blessing. So you cannot go to heaven. So if you don't have money, you cannot go to heaven. Even some members think like that, right? No, it's money more important. Money is the most important. Like matter is more important, like that. They don't know they are already materialist. Materialist. So yeah, I agree. There are different types of communism nowadays, including the communist aspect in unificationism, maybe prioritizing money and position more than the spirituality. Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Ah, oh my gosh. I know so many Marxist unificationists. Okay, I think this will be the last question. This is from a member in Mindanao. She said, "Help, sir. I am just wondering if we talk about money 10 years from now, or maybe she's referring to if like Chunulgok, is there a possibility that money is not valuable to the economy anymore? Or will money be used in the system of Chunulgok?"
Yeah, that's very good, no? Very futuristic, huh? Yes, I think, now, even in Korea, they're going towards a coinless society, coinless. They don't use coins anymore. They only, if you buy something and you need the change that is requires coins, you just give your card. Yeah, they have a special card. They will put your change in coins in your card. So I can see that also because of COVID-19, many people now does not want to hold the money because that money transfer from one hand to another. And if somebody has COVID-19 and happens to hold that money, and he is symptomatic, coughing like that, and the virus go to his hand, and he's holding money, and then that money go to the virus go to the money, and then he give that money to another person, and then to another person. So now, many people and nations now considering it will be a cashless society. Cashless society. Only use the biometrics. No, show your thumb, only thumb, or your iris, your eyes only, and then already your salary will automatically be deposited in your account, no? And you can only be withdrawn using your thumb, fingerprints, or iris scan, like that. That time is actually coming. So what I'm saying is that even though we'll have a Chonilguk, no, nation, that will not be abruptly changed into some kind of a totally different kind of a nation. We have to adapt with the present situation in the nations and slowly change it, no? Change it and develop it. And for sure, it will be a nation that will develop very fast, because people there are living for the sake of others. People there, no, will not practice immorality. Some can do it maybe occasionally, but it will not be tolerated by the environment. So it will eventually be destroyed. No, this concept of immorality, no smoking, no drinking, no womanizing. No, so that will be a totally different kind of society. So let's just hope for the best. No, it will be the most advanced nation when it comes to technology. It will be the most convenient place to stay. Tourists will really like to go to that place because people are very kind and living for others. So that nation will be very famous in tourism. That place will be will have the highest and the most advanced, no, science and technology. That place will be the most moral and the most wonderful place for families. So something like that. No, I can just say that the ideal world will look like that. Not exactly that different externally, but internally it will be very, very different.
Yes, an ideal world. So the ideal or the utopia society is actually Chunurgok. Now, since actually it's ano na, paubos na oras natin. So I would like to formally close this day's session by saying thank you, Reverend Dr. Edgar Tanate, for the very insightful answers to our confusions. Thank you so much for giving us this today's lecture. And to our participants, remember tomorrow is our last day of this, hindi naman last day, tomorrow is our last day or the third day of this CAUSA seminar. So let's all make it sure na makapunta tayo dun. So it will start from 1:30 again. So we will have a quick video showing and then we will proceed to the lecture. And prepare yung ibang mga participants because we will also ask for reflections. So with that, I would like to say thank you so much, Kamsahamnida, for attending the second day of our CAUSA webinar. And thank you to all of the people who supported our leaders, brothers, sisters, our affiliated youth organizations, NLTP, YLT, NYSP, and W Corp from different chapters. So now, goodbye. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you po.
Thank you.
Master Edgar.
Thank you.
Fighting. Nancy.
Thank you.
Thank you, Papa. Brothers and sisters from Japan. Thank you.
Thank you.
Blessing for families. Fanatic Clan, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bro.
Thank you so much.
Kamsahamnida, arigato, merci.
Mas po ulit.
Thank you, thank you.
Uy, San Kyle. Long time no see, San Kyle.
Hi, Kat.
Yes. Ang cute ng tatlo nito.
Hello, Kuya.
Hi,
Wow,
Edgar.
grabe ah.
I miss you, Kuya Edgar.
Wow! Yeah! Hey, Julie ah.